So a warm afternoon to those of you in church and watching online for our reflection, looking for meaning and purpose. My name is Ben Almond and I am a member of the ministry team here in St. Peter Mancroft Church. On Wednesdays, we look at aspects of human flourishing and how we as humans can survive and thrive in the world. Do you know, it's a common misconception that before Christopher Columbus sailed over to the Americas, most people in medieval Europe thought that the world was flat. We have in fact known this since the time of the ancient Greeks and during the Islamic Golden Age in the 800s, when the noted mathematician Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, Latinized to algorithmi, from where we get the word algorithm, calculated the circumference of the earth to within a very close degree of accuracy. But whether human beings at that time did or did not believe that the shape of the earth was round, one thing that has been unique to human beings at all times and in all places is a deep-rooted desire to explore, to expand the known horizon, to discover new peoples, new places and cultures. In the BBC sci-fi series Doctor Who, we are invited into the Doctor's TARDIS, a machine that allows you to transport yourself to any part of the world and universe at any time and place. Now, just imagine for a moment where you would take the journey to. Supposing you had a two-way use of the TARDIS, i.e. you could go to one place and also come back any time in the world and at any place, where would you travel to? What would you want to see? What would you want to witness? Does anyone in the church want to share their thoughts on where they would be keen to go to? Well, no worries, because for me, I would want to travel back to be one of those first Polynesian explorers, being the first human beings in the world to have sighted and landed on the Hawaiian Islands. Just imagine that now for a second. You are in a very primitive canoe or small boat. You have sailed and rowed a couple of thousand miles away from your home through the vast and seemingly limitless wilderness of the Pacific Ocean. You follow the stars for navigation. You have very limited food and water, supplies which are quickly running out, and you're probably not all that sure where your destination will be, or perhaps even whether a destination exists. And then all of a sudden, on the horizon, mountains appear in the distance, which when you travel closer are full of exotic and unusual plants and animals you have never previously seen, and landscapes which are yet to be explored. Or perhaps I would travel alongside the group of Native Americans who were the first human beings in the world to take the trip into modern-day South America and into the Amazon rainforest. Imagine that, being a part of a company of men and women there, greeted by a giant jungle, a colossus of flora and fauna. And who was the first company of humans, I wonder, to suggest moving away from the plain lands of your known ancestors and setting up a new deep home in the wild and unpredictable area ahead of you? In both examples, we as human beings imagine ourselves full of a range of emotions: intrepidation, fear, intrigue, surprise, confusion, awe, courage, all feelings we may have felt at different times as we embark on new adventures in our lives, moving to a new place, starting a new job, or even making an important personal decision. At this present time, when we perhaps feel more isolated and constrained than ever before, I think it's a wonderfully escapist exercise to think about where we would hope to travel to and explore. And I think it is an important part of human flourishing to see new things, to explore new places and really push ourselves out of our comfort zone. It was Eleanor Roosevelt who is commonly associated with the famous quote, "Do one thing that scares you every day." Perhaps a more contemporary figure, known for putting people quite far out of their comfort zone, is the survival instructor Bear Grylls, who has presented several popular television series, including The Island with Bear Grylls, which features contestants placed on a remote, uninhabited Pacific island and tasked with developing their survival skills in order to make it through. A part of the appeal of programs like this is that we imagine ourselves in the position of the participants, wondering how we would cope in their situations and empathizing with them as they struggle to manage with living in such strange environments. And it is interesting to me to see how Bear Grylls' own personal faith informs much of this call and desire for adventure. At the age of 23, Bear became one of the youngest people ever to scale Mount Everest, one of the most toughest challenges I think anyone can set themselves to try and tackle. But he said very clearly that it was prayer and scripture that carried him forward throughout the dangerous and potentially deadly climb. For Bear, the strength to climb the mountain was more than just the physical, but that the faith that he had was the backbone for when he was exhausted and felt as though he didn't have any more to give. Faith, Bear said, has been his wildest ride, his greatest adventure, and has described Jesus at the heart of the Christian faith as the wildest, most radical guy he had ever come across, as he was always hanging out with all sorts of fringe people on society and going to parties and banquets, and Bear felt very drawn to this Jesus as presented to him. So I would encourage you as I end my talk this afternoon that as much as you can at present with current limitations, but also going into the future, to explore as much of the world as you can, to find new things and places and really stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone. But I would also encourage you not to think of adventure as only about scaling mountains and crossing through jungle and desert terrains, exciting though that is, but also about the relationships which you build with people along the way. Yes, with friends and family who journey with you, but also perhaps with God too.